Welcome to the Germinate podcast, where agriculture, business, and innovation take root and thrive. I'm Joe Sampson, and with nearly 2 decades of experience in agricultural equipment and scaling businesses, I'm here to bring you actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategic advice. Whether you're an industry veteran or just starting out, this podcast is your guide to cultivating ideas, expanding your knowledge, and growing your venture. So let's get started and germinate your path to success. All right. Welcome back to the Germinate podcast, everybody. Today's an episode really of the power of networking, the power of LinkedIn. A guy from Iowa and a guy from Houston, Texas, hooked up. And now we've been talking, the last couple of months. So welcome, everybody. Brian Kovar. How are you, Brian?
Yeah, Joe. Thanks for having me, man. This is fantastic. I've been on a podcast before, Joe, but not many. So it's a privilege and an honor to join you on Germinate. And just like you said, for those listening or watching, it's I've been in an industry, outdoor power equipment for years, and just exploring the tractor and ag world. And Joe, I came across, we had a mutual connection or something, and you came across my feed. And it was just everything you were saying resonated with me. And so we've connected, and now we're exploring ways to work together. So
yeah. It's one of those things where I think I said this is one of the times we talked. Sometimes, when you have a vibe with somebody, you know what I mean? You feel whether it's similar interest. I think we look alike, we're doppelgangers. That's another thing. Anybody that's rocking the bald head and a beard, I'm like, let's go.
That's it, bro. That's it. My kind of guy.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's a vibe, and you just, you feel certain things when you talk to certain people, and that was definitely you. So I appreciate you reaching out to me. And the company you work for is called Ideal Computer Systems. So how does that work within the agricultural community? Talk to us about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. And you hit the nail on the head, to go back to how you and I got started, is there's that, if you look at your LinkedIn and everything that you're putting out, when a individual is reading your content, there is again, that word resonate is big, right? Yeah. So like I came, to give everybody a little bit of background, I've worked for a distributorship for the past 13 years in that outdoor power equipment space. So the blowers, the trimmers, the chainsaws, the zero-turn mowers, that was my world.
Sure.
And now I'm with Ideal Computer Systems, who still caters to that world, but they also cater to adjacent markets like tractor and ag, like power sports, like marine, those kinds of verticals. But those are all new markets for me. So I'm always exploring like, hey, I need a buddy, right?
Yeah, right.
In an adjacent market, in an ag or tractor space. And, you looked at everything you're putting out there, and it's clear that you've been in this space, you have a great reputation. So, I felt that, a reach out, definitely couldn't hurt, but it was someone who would lower their shields, and, we're now exploring a business relationship together. It was very genuine, I guess is the best way to say that.
No, man, I appreciate that. And it's funny that you say that, because that was early on. I was not active on LinkedIn for 20 years. I had a profile, but I posted every now and again about some event that I was at, or maybe Happy Memorial Day or something stupid, but that's not a real revenue generator at all. When you post about Happy Memorial Day and cheers to 4th of July, nobody cares except for maybe my cousins and my family,
Yeah. You and everybody else are doing the same thing.
Yeah, right. But when you get active on it, then you start finding and reaching connections and a network in and of itself. So the importance of a network, obviously you found that with OPE. What's your background in OPE with sort of building that network and organizations, conventions, whatever it is that you went, shows that you went to? That's a big part of your life, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Joe, great question. I kind of danced around your first one. I apologize. But
no, you're good.
Ideal Computer Systems. We cater. We're essentially a software that these dealerships can use to help run their business. So that's first off. So, back to your second question was, the relationships I've had in OPE, how did I do it? All of that stuff. Here's what I've learned in my time in doing this. So I was with the distributor. We had 29 states that we covered. So a good portion of the country. And so I would fly into dealerships constantly, in and out and back and forth. So, at the end of the day, we could spend a whole day talking about just this one topic, right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, what I have learned that dealers love is not that complicated. It's you're a genuine person. You follow through with what you say you're going to do. You answer the phone. You take care of the customer, and that's kind of it. I
Yeah.
hate to be that simple about it, but it does not have to be this complicated thing because if you're deceitful or you're not ethical or any of that, if that ever happens, the relationship's over,
Yeah.
right? And they can sniff those things out pretty quickly because they have reps coming in all day long as well, right? So you also have to show value to your customers. So if you go in and say, hey, how's the weather? That's adding zero value to your customer. Instead, go in, start assembling some equipment so the dealer can put it on the shelf because he has to do that anyway. Now you're adding value to his business. There's a
Yeah.
lot of credibility and respect that comes from efforts like that. So always be showing value and business ethics and just a decent guy to want to work for or work with
Yeah.
is the summary of what I've learned after all these years.
Dude, I love that. And it's true with any relationship. I mean, if we all treated our significant others like with no respect, we never answered any of their questions, we never asked questions,
Right.
and we didn't hold ourselves to a valuable person where, I don't know, maybe you try to take care of yourself a little bit and you try to present yourself the best way you possibly can. They wouldn't like us either. You know what I
Nope.
mean?
Nope.
It's like
Exactly.
it's you nailed it. It's not that hard. We
It's
try
not
to
that
we
complicated.
overcomplicate these things way too much.
And to your point earlier, you get a vibe, and it's the same with customers and vendors. I'm
Hmm.
learning that it's like I could do business with these people, or I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's like I don't get a good feeling about what's going on here. You can kind of tell, and I think that speaks back to genuineness and that the business ethics that that's the fundamental foundational things, but it just seems like our world gets away from those things. So
Wild, isn't it? And then I think you nailed it too by providing a value. And that's what, ultimately we could talk and we can have a good vibe all we want. But the reality of it is, when you started kind of telling me about your product and how we can work together and what we can do to collaborate, I started really believing in it as well because it's 2025 now. And the way I look at your product is decisions are made on what a dealership can and cannot stock, what product line a manufacturer wants to break into or wants to potentially close out of. And some of these decisions are made from a territory rep in Michigan talking to the home office in Iowa.
right,
It might have been drawn on the back of a napkin. There's no real numbers, or the buzzword today is data and data driven analytics. And
that's it.
that is where your company and your visions, your product comes into play. I mean, tell me if
100%.
I'm wrong here.
No, you're spot on, Joe, and,
Yeah.
and thank you. I probably should provide a little bit more background on what we do, who we are, and those kinds of things. And I'm happy to do that now.
Yeah.
So, it gets a little confusing. I'll try to keep it pretty simple, but our company, Ideal Computer Systems, our core product is what's called a DMS, so a dealer management system.
Hmm.
And so I mentioned earlier, in my old life, I'm in and out of dealerships all over the country. And what, you see is some very successful dealerships flying by the seat of their pants, and they don't have a process. They don't have a way to monitor margin. They don't have a way to monitor inventory. It's chaotic and they're busy.
Yeah.
So what's happening is they're taking care of their customers transactionally all day long, but they don't know whether they're in the green, in the red, in the black. They have no idea.
Wow.
And so, in all of my years of doing this, again, you get close with these guys. They're kind of like, I hate to use that cheesy family word, but I still talk to them. I don't deal with them on a daily basis anymore, but they'll send me, it was just Mardi Gras. They send me a king cake or a Christmas gift, whatever.
Yeah.
We're friends,
Yeah.
and you do it for so long for those guys. But anyway, so, but going into some of these dealerships, you have that subset of they're very successful, but they're chaotic. Then you see a dealership who's kind of struggling, and they may not need a software because the business doesn't dictate that. There's not enough turns to really need a system. Then you go to the polished individual who does have the volume, who does have the software, who is able to, reconcile their business, who is able to grow their business organically because they have the processes in place to do that.
Mhm.
So that is what's called the DMS. Okay. So now what it's two pronged. The dealer can now have visibility to information. What do I need to bring in next? How do I eliminate back orders? Like he's got everything that he needs. He has his playbook to
Sure.
run his business the most efficient and effective way that he can. What happens in my world now is all that information is feeding back to us. And, there's an agreement in the DMS that allows us, to kind of share some data. But now we've got to value back to the manufacturers and distributors to also see the sell through activity to ensure they're stocking the appropriate products. We put it into our dealerships, but what's the sell through rate? We're not sure. So now let's back that into supply chain optimization, production line scheduling. There's all sorts of things that you can do with data that provides data-driven decisions. And the world I came from, I never knew this was out there.
Yeah.
So awareness has been the biggest thing of, I was on a customer call recently, and the customer put it perfectly: is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And the fact that this has existed, and I was with this distributorship for 13 years, no idea it was out there. So the fact that, hey, I'm not saying your mousetrap is broken, but what if I could give you a better mousetrap? That's the world I'm in today.
Well, and a lot of my audience and a lot of the really a lot of the agricultural audience is smaller to mid-size manufacturing companies, either on the supply chain or that could be the whole goods side as well.
Right.
So that could be a company that started in 1892, or it could be a company that started in 2022.
Amen.
And the guys that started, or the guys or the gals or whomever that started in the 100 years ago, they have all this history of how Uncle Walter did it, or Uncle Wendell, or Aunt Jean, or whomever. And what's washed under the rug is there's a way to figure out how to optimize that best product. You still make a fantastic product. Clearly, you wouldn't be in business that long if you didn't.
Sure.
So you're making a fantastic product. Now, how do you optimize on it? Do you even know if you're optimizing on it? Do you know if you're making the most amount of revenue possible on that product? You probably don't.
How do you know what to make next is our
Right.
biggest use case.
Yeah.
Right? What if you could see what's trending in what parts of the country, at what price points, and what models, and what deck sizes, and all of that?
All
right?
that, yeah.
That is going to, again, back to that word playbook, that is going to be your playbook moving forward. I know there's historical data people can lean on, all of that, which is great. But now we have real-time information feeding back to you on a monthly basis. So it's taking it up another level.
I like what you're saying. It's a playbook. It gives you kind of a book of instructions on what to do next, how to optimize.
What do we do next?
Yeah.
Right. This is going on in our economy. What's the next play call? This is going on with tariffs, right? What's the next play call? How do we pivot without being, taking the word reactive and turning that into proactive? How do we be one step ahead of everybody else that's out there?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Let's not base a decision based off emotion. Everybody knows that's the wrong way to go. But
100%.
so many base it off an emotion, a feeling that they had over in this little sector, and let's do it, let's go. And you're like,
exactly.
How do you even know?
Right.
So yeah, I love
because my dealers were telling me. Right. That's what we always get. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love you bringing in the whole tariff talk too, because we are living in sort of a dysfunctional world right now. We're recording on April 3rd. So big moment that just happened yesterday. And really it's going on today. The stock market, I don't know if you've looked, it's freaking plummeting this morning.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that? Yeah. So very reactive
the
stuff.
heart sink a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, I hear you. And but there's also an opportunity for these businesses out there to say, okay, wait a minute, we are manufacturing in the United States. What is it that we can do now to capitalize on the word diversification? We've been building the same old kind of slumpy, peanut buttery stuff. Now we all want to diversify, but nobody knows what the hell to diversify into. You give them a playbook that says you should go and diversify in this direction, right?
Amen, Joe. Amen. That's exactly right. And, I talked a little bit earlier about the different markets. So in some of our data, there's high level views, and then we can get down to like the specific partner, right? But at a high level, you can just look at the markets that are trending down or trending up, right? And they're different between OPE and tractor and power sports. There is no consistency between any of them. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. To your point is, I'll give this other example. I was with a customer, and that customer said, we're struggling right now, and the last thing that's going to save us is data. And of course, respectfully, I was like, I beg to differ. Because
right.
if the house is on fire, what do you do next? What if someone could show you what to do next?
Yeah.
And deliver it in a nice little box, a nice little package, right? That's the deal. When things are going great, you're jiving. You don't really need when things are going wrong or poorly. How do you recover as quickly as you possibly can? You gotta have the roadmap, right? Yeah. You've got to be able to make those not anecdotal decisions, but data-driven decisions.
And it's the age-old thing: slow down, take a breath. Yeah. You said it earlier, the chaos that you've seen. And we often throw the word grind out like it's some sort of a great thing. Grind. You got to keep grinding. Go, go, go. And it's like, do you? Is that a life?
Yeah.
Do you really want to live like that?
It's work smarter, not harder is a motto I live by. I'm not that old, but I'm feeling older these days.
Dude, you're not that old. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to look like, just look at me and you're going to see yourself in however many years, 20 years. And yeah, but
no, you're right. It's I could be driving a Ferrari, but if I'm off-roading, that makes no sense, right? I'm still stuck, right?
Yeah.
But so anyway.
Give everybody some kind of high level. Don't go completely into the software and kind of how it works, but you walk into a customer, maybe use an OPE example. You walk into a customer and you say, hey, what's up? It's Brian. This is some of the top 2, 3. I don't want to put you on the spot here either, man.
No, you're good.
This is some of the top 2 or 3 things that, once you see this software, this is what it can do for you. Dive into some kind of concrete examples.
100%. So in a good question, Joe, in the OPE world, it goes back to that chaotic word, right? Yeah. So, the biggest thing with some of these dealerships, I used an example earlier where, this guy's actually a really good friend of mine, and he's just old school. If you go into his store, he's wearing cutoff shirt, camo jean shorts, but he's one of the top dealers in the country, and he just knows how to sell, right?
Yep.
But he's a backwoods guy. He's not very good at the polished business acumen, is the best way I can say that.
Yep.
So by investing in a software, you don't have to go here to do this thing. You don't have to go here. Like, it's all centralized is number one. It's all in one spot on a little dashboard. Your accounting, your inventory, your sales, all of it, right? Yeah. So that's the biggest thing is, number one, we put you in one little driver's seat to centralize everything.
Sure.
And then number two, you can set the dashboard up to the things that you need to look at daily, weekly, and monthly. So what do you need to look at daily? Sales, inventory. How do you know what to order next from your vendors? Remember, you got to consolidate and hit threshold with these vendors to get free shipping or terms or best pricing, whatever the case is. So there needs to be some strategy. How on earth do you do that without this software?
Yeah.
There's no way, right?
Right.
And, don't get me wrong, there's other softwares out there. So, in OPE, we have a great reputation. Full disclosure, that's how I ended up with Ideal is I've known the reputation in this space. I've known these guys for a long time, just being in that world for so long, but great reputation, great product. But essentially, it's number one, to eliminate the chaos. And then what you see is once you invest into the system, your business grows organically because now you're doing everything right. You don't have back orders. No back orders means more sales. You're dialed into your profitability enhancement pieces because you're not forking out freight because you don't know what the thresholds are because you're flying by the seat of your pants.
Right.
You're just ordering stuff and you're paying freight. Now your margins are taking a hit. You're spinning on this hamster wheel and you can't get off of it.
Yeah. Uncle Wendell told you to order on Tuesday afternoons product X, Y, and Z. So that's what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hi, folks. I'm going to interrupt the show for a second to talk to one of the businesses making the Germinate show possible. Here's Pete Casamento, owner of GBGI in Chardon, Ohio. Pete, thanks for sponsoring the show. Talk to us about GBGI and your vision.
Thanks for having us today, Joe. I appreciate it. GBGI was founded around a very simple goal. Build a quality product, treat the customer right, and the business will grow in the right way. And that has treated us very well over the last 31 years. We're not here for the short-term win. We're here for building long-term relationships and partnerships with our customers. Whether you're an OEM manufacturer, a precision dealer, or an end user, we stand behind our product and we will work with you to make sure everything is right. We show up, we deliver, and we don't make excuses. That is how we've grown over the years, and that's what makes our customers very happy.
So to your point earlier, slow down. Let's talk in the off season. I'm not saying right now it's time to make the money. Yeah. But if you haven't invested in a DMS yet, slow down, call us in the slow months. We walk you through it line by line, detail by detail. It's extremely user-friendly. You know, dealers are very afraid of change. I've done it this way for so many years. I don't want to learn something new.
Yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm the same way. I'm a creature of habit. Don't take me out of my routine. I get all cattywampus, right? But yep. But you know, if I could tell you, hey, you're, you know, at the end of the day, your net profit is X and it could be Y. Now, would you change for that Y? You know, so that's, it starts resonating. Who wouldn't do that, right? You know, I know it's going to be some learning curves and we're right there with you. We've got a whole support staff. You know, this isn't a, we set it up, bye-bye thing. It's, we're in this with you. So there's a lot of hand holding until you get up to speed and then you make the call. Hey, I don't need you guys anymore. Thanks. I'm off to the races. I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah.
Perfect. We've done our job.
That's the kind of relationship you want. You know, the thing that you said there early on too is, I don't know if I've coined this phrase. I'll go ahead and say I did. I don't think I did though, but revenue generating activities, RGAs is what I call them.
Love it.
And everybody's like, well, it's more sales. You got to have more sales. That's the only way to generate revenue. It's like, yeah, but probably, I mean, what about here's an example. You're throwing away, if you're a manufacturing company, you make 100 widgets an hour and you're throwing 5 of those away an hour. Are you recording those 5?
Right.
Well, no, we're not. Well, what the hell? Why aren't you? Because that's money that you're throwing. That's revenue that you could generate if you could actually document it. Now, I'm kind of shying away from ideal here a little bit, but you nailed on something when you were like, okay, let's get a kind of a 30,000 view and one nice little neat dashboard that says, what's your optimization for purchasing, for instance? Exactly. Why are we purchasing on Tuesdays widget X, Y, and Z that Uncle Wendell told us to, when really this company would rather us do it once a month in a larger number and we could save whatever percentage?
Exactly.
Right?
Amen, Joe. That's it. Yeah.
I mean,
the power of consolidating orders, you know, a manufacturer or distributor, freight is a massive cost, right? So if you can help that supplier cut down on some of those, likely those savings get passed on to you. Just ask, leverage your relationship with your supplier and ask, hey, if I happen to re-strategize my purchasing, you know, operations today, would it benefit you if I ordered only once a month? If so, what can I see as a benefit to that, right? What extra discount can I get? Just leverage your relationships, because there's always, if you don't ask, you'll never know. There's always an opportunity on the table.
What's the win-win here? And most of the time, everybody wants a win-win. And 100%. To your point, or maybe to mine, that's an RGA. That's a revenue generating activity where you didn't have to go hire anybody. There's no sale. You're just optimizing the already fantastic products that you're buying, reselling, whatever it is you're doing. So, wow. Now you have a platform, a dashboard to look at and say, let's try to optimize our revenue. Basically,
100%. You're working smarter, not harder. You're working smarter and harder, right? They go together. Right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with working hard. In fact, we all should. But don't make a Ferrari go off road. That's not
exactly.
That's stupid. Yeah,
exactly.
When people think of a dashboard or data, especially those that have no idea have never really used it, they're like, oh shit, man, this is confusing. I'm foreign to this. I don't even know how to turn my phone on. I don't know what an app is. I've seen it. It's very, very simple and very user-friendly, but it's one thing to say it. We should be probably showing it right now, but talk a little bit about that obstacle that you get. I'm sure you get that every now and again.
100%. Yeah, Joe, again, great question. And, you know, the biggest thing, this goes back to a lot of things I was saying earlier, is, you know, showing value the solid business decision. I was here, I think in 3 months, I closed a pretty large account. I use the word close. It was a mutual win-win, to your
Yeah.
point earlier.
Yeah.
It was, hey, here's what I'm trying to figure out to propel us forward. Mr. or Mrs. Customer, I think I can help. Here's a roadmap that can help you get there. And we're going to walk through it together.
Yep.
And so it was a few different demos. She started understanding like the light bulbs. You could tell the light bulbs were going off for her. So
Yeah.
that happened in December of 2024. And we probably still talk weekly. It's April 2025. We talk weekly about, hey, Brian, I'm trying to figure out how to use your data to go down the path of XYZ.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Here is, I'm going to just extract what I think you need. If it's not what you need, call me and let's go through it together. It is the consistent value add. I could easily say, hey, let's just schedule a call and talk about it. No, I think it's this. And if it's not, I misread it. Let's hop on a call and then I'll provide you what you need instead of you having to comb through all the data yourself to try. I do this every single day. Let me comb through it. I can get there way faster than you can. And then I'll just deliver it to you in a nice little package with a bow.
Yeah.
Right. So, don't let new technology scare you from the opportunities that it brings, because the opportunity that it brings you is way more valuable than you getting bogged down in, I just don't think I can use it the right way. That's what we're here for. Right. Yeah. So it's, my job is to bring you the awareness, but also bring you the partnership. And I know that word gets thrown around like, every single day, but it's because if I don't deliver on this piece, you can cancel at any time. So I have incentive to make sure that you're happy constantly.
Yeah. And to your point, you have incentive too to provide value, not just say, let's hop on a call. You tell me all the problems that you have. You try to find the problem before you're providing a solution before you even kind of know what the problem is, and I think that's valuable to a lot of people, because we talked about time in a previous podcast, and that's the one thing nobody's making more of, and it's going by faster than we all want. And especially when you're in your day-to-day working and you're a dealer and you're just trying to get through this, especially an agricultural dealer right now. It's tough, man. It's tough sledding. You don't know what the hell the government's doing. You don't know what commodity prices are. You don't know why you have so much inventory. And you're just like, man, I'm stuck, but I got to keep going. I got to go. And now I've got this software that's supposed to help me, but I can't figure it out. And no one's calling me back. And then all of a sudden, Brian calls, or I schedule a call and Brian's like, I have a feeling you're dealing with this, this, and this. I want to value your time. Let's fix it. Focus on this and move on. I love it, man. That's
100%. And Joe, you touched on a great thing. I mean, there's others in our space. And, I think the reason I deal, and we have other subsets, of that name, but the reason I mentioned that word reputation earlier, you don't have a great reputation in an industry by not doing the things that you and I are talking about. Is your credibility will get thrown out the window because dealers talk, right? As we know it, right?
Dude, it's a small niche community. Yeah. There's a lot of them, but they are small. Yeah.
And they're very tight knit. They're going to trust their dealer down the street before they trust me, but that's fantastic because that dealer we have, it's kind of like the traffic light system. It's like a customer satisfaction thing. It's like we throw it out at the end of the year and it's just a survey. Not everyone takes it, but and we're always, 95% plus we're in the green. And it's just because of the systems we have in place. We have a customer support group, right? We have an implementation group. We have everyone who's specialized in their niche for whatever that customer would need. Yeah. So it's not me trying to do every part of it. We have teams in different buckets that cater to that dealer.
Yeah.
Which I think is important.
I mean, you nailed it. And partnership is thrown around, but if defined well, it's so true, because that partnership can then turn into such more of a non-customer, commodity type thing. It's a true partnership, a family. To your point, a lot of these people become friends, and before you know it, you're getting sent Mardi Gras hats and cakes or whatever it is you were talking about before. And
it's you want to have their back, right?
Yeah.
You want to do right by them, and for professional reasons, but also it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Back to the ethics and just being a good guy to want to do business with. At the end of the day, I just every single day that goes by, it's like that just keeps being more validated in my mind every single day. I've
Yeah.
got all these people who I want to work with. Why should I work with you? And I'm going to show you why.
Yeah. And that is the good stuff at the end of the day too. It's not about the money, it's not about the deal, it's not about it's that where you're like, man, I really provided. I we helped each other out. And that, man, that's the good stuff.
If you provide a win-win for both parties in your everyday objective, the money and we all need to hit numbers, we all have bosses, right? But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you do all those things we've talked about, add value, win-win for both parties, and just being a good human being at the end of the day, all of those other things will take care of themselves, as we all know,
Yeah.
right? So it's no, we don't have to make it any more complicated than that.
Yeah, you said it at the beginning. This is not rocket science. It's relatively
Exactly.
simple stuff. Talk about the importance of you spoke earlier a little bit about it, but of a network and building a network, and maybe especially when you're trying to get into a new network like what you guys are trying to do now. Where do you go? Where do you start? What are some things that you would give some advice to everybody else?
Joe, I'll give two examples. So it's a little bit of a sad story, but I was with that distributorship I mentioned for 13 years. The sad ending of that is we had to close our business for a long list of reasons. And I thought I would be there forever. So
Yeah,
now I'm like, oh no, like I don't have a resume. I never thought I needed one again. Like,
yeah, I know.
right. So you talk about how do you utilize your network and how important that is. I wouldn't have this job without my current network,
Yep.
right? It's going through that application process. I can tell everyone who's on the job market. I applied to hundreds of jobs, hundreds, and I've got maybe 3 interviews out of that 100,
No
and
kidding.
it was all in my OPE world because they knew me. They
Yeah.
they knew the kind of guy I was. They've done business with me in the past. They knew I was on the market. They also knew I was not going anywhere forever, and then things changed. So that's number one. Is without that network, I'd probably still be on LinkedIn. Please take me,
Yeah.
right?
Somebody help me. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody help. And so that's one piece of it. And then while we're getting here, we've been in that OPE, and now we're trying to break into tractor. Well, I don't have relationships with tractor and ag. I've never been in that world.
Hmm.
And so, where's the first thing I go to? And frankly, the way you and me got connected, I didn't go anywhere. Someone that we had a mutual connection with liked your post or shared it or something. And then I saw the content again that you put out.
Yeah.
And it just like, I was like, dude, this guy gets it. Just the resonation piece was there. So then I clicked on your profile. I kind of LinkedIn stalked you a little bit of what are
Nice.
you doing.
I like it.
And I was like, this guy is on the board of one of the associations for farm and ag. Like, this guy could help me as long as there's something in it for him, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you and I are in the middle of discussing right now. And so I was like, let's just give it a shot. Let's reach out, and you never know what could happen. So I'm kind of birthing a new network in this tractor and ag space. I went to the farm machinery show, but we all know how those trade shows are. They're you talk to hundreds of people a day. How on earth do you remember? Hey,
Yeah. How do you
that
stand
guy.
out? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you
Yeah.
stand out, right?
Yeah.
So it's very muddy and messy, and but it was good for me to walk that show. There's some organizations out there that we've had some really good conversations with, but again, I'm still in relationship building mode with these guys,
Yeah.
and so how do you again stand out, improve your value and your credibility very quickly? It's a little bit of a challenge. What I like to do is I always like to offer up a site visit, because it's very challenging to if you don't know me, and it's very challenging to get to know me and understand the value I bring and just the kind of person I am over Teams or over a virtual meeting. I
Yeah.
love to come in just for a couple days, and you'll get to see how we like to do business, and you'll know if the fit is right or not, just by our interactions. And so that's how I like to birth new relationships. I'm very much still the so
Yeah. 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 I think I'm excited to
Sure.
introduce you to the FEMA group because you'll fit right into that. You and the value that your company
Right.
brings. You just fit right into that mold of, because there's a lot of organizations within FEMA that are trying to get to that next level. They're trying to. They've maybe grown to the point where they're
Exactly.
capped, and they're like, we need to take that next step, or they're new enough to where they're trying to get to where their product actually matters. I'm
And
super excited to introduce you to that organization. And you're right, man. That's where it starts. Just it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You build up this, and
that's it.
you find a guy. Me and you connect. Before you know it, we branch off into 4 or 5. Before you know it, we got this network of like-minded individuals, and I love it, man. I love it.
And it's not, there's no world where you go into someone once and they're like, that's my guy. No, you
No,
gotta work at it. You
yeah,
gotta work, you gotta earn their trust and their, it goes back to that always adding value. I like to call it sweat equity, right? So you go in to a prospect customer, what we'd always like to do is we had a brand or a product that we were selling. It doesn't matter, right? If you notice there's dust on the shelves, have a little feather duster in the back pocket and just wipe it down, or a rag or
yeah.
whatever, right?
I love
So
it. I love it.
worst case scenario, I just polished off my competitor's product for your business, Mr. Dealer.
There you go.
While I'm in here, let me demonstrate how I can show some value, right?
Yeah,
Whatever that is. That was a silly example, but you know what I mean.
I know. I like it.
Um, the other thing I would say
Really? That
too,
was an example? I was literally thinking you actually did that. You took a
oh no,
feather. That's
we did. Oh, we did.
okay. I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Okay, good. I was like, I thought, don't BS me. I
No,
was like,
no,
that's
no.
nice, man.
We 100%, because you go into places and it's like that kid had zero reason to want to do that, or something was on the floor and it should have been hanging on a shelf, and he took his time to dealers may not say anything about it, but they see it. Like,
Yeah,
I've had versus the rep that comes in that dealer's spending $1 million plus with, shook my hand, said, hey, how's the weather, and then left.
yeah. Right,
Right.
right.
So the only other thing I would say, Joe, we talked about the value is, you kind of touched on it earlier, is our world just seems ever changing. Like, I mean, we've all been doing this for so long, but it's like those years of like 2013 to 2020 was like business as usual, consistent weather patterns. Like, it was just stable, it felt like.
Yeah.
And ever since
Commodity
COVID,
prices were all the same.
exactly.
It was like nothing. It was just kind of nothing really.
You just,
Everything was stagnant.
it was
And
just
then I know
another
where you're
day.
going here. I know where you're
Another day
going.
at the office, man. And ever since COVID, it's just it's, if it's not the weather, it's the economy. If it's not the economy, it's tariffs. If it's not, it's always something, right? And the other thing, so again, how do you stay ahead of the ever changing thing you're trying to dodge or deal with, right? And the other thing I'll mention is a lot of AI is starting to get introduced. How is
Hmm.
that being integrated into our businesses? How do we, you know, we're even exploring how we utilize that in some of the software. And so, it's only going to get better, but that's, again, it's 2025. What does 2030 look like? And if I don't get on board with some of these things, am I going to get left in the dust? It's a lot of things to consider, but
I can answer it.
inform-
Yes.
information and processes is just such a key fundamental. It feels like these days. It almost feels like it's a gotta have.
Yeah. You're
You
not
know,
going to be able to make decisions based off of a gut emotional decision anymore. Those days are gone. And
these days
to
are
your
gone.
point in embracing technology, we could have a whole other show on this. And I've
Right.
talked to a few really intelligent AI people on this show. It blows my mind. It's like, oh my
Oh, it's
gosh, you're
crazy.
kidding me. But technology and embracing it, if you're not doing it and you're not making decisions based off data in the very near future, I'm talking in the next week or two, you're in
Right.
deep trouble. You really
Right.
are, because
You're in trouble.
it's out there and everybody else is embracing it. And if they get, AI can 10x the speed that I can do something today versus 10 years ago. It's unreal.
100%.
Maybe even
100%.
100x. So
Yes.
think of those decisions and those data-driven decisions on your business and in your dealership, and To me, it's fascinating. And like I said, I'm super excited to introduce you guys. This is kind of an unveiling of who you are to the industry, and I can't wait to showcase more. Tell people who Brian Kovar is on the outside, and are you married? I know you have. I think you have kids, or otherwise you just carry Mickey Mouse stuff around for the the point of it. But talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, I was telling Joe, it's like I have this home office, but there's a Minnie Mouse behind me. There's Hot Wheels over here. It's
I can relate, man. That was me.
yeah,
That was definitely
hey,
me.
you make it happen, right? Regardless of the situation. But no, great question, Joe, and thank you again for having me on this
Yeah,
podcast.
man. Of
It's
course.
you and I again. We haven't even met in person yet.
No,
So but it's been all virtual. But I appreciate everything you're doing. Number one for the ag market as a whole, and you could tell that again, we're very aligned, and I think in how we like to do things. So, but back to your question. So, thank you for having me.
of course.
Um, who is Brian Kovar? What's his background? So, born and raised in Houston, Texas. I went to Texas A&M University for my undergraduate degree in business administration. Just a couple hours down the road from here. I met my wife. She was in Florida actually. Long story, mutual friend. So we're married. We've got two young kiddos now. A boy, he's 4 years old. We just started t-ball, so that's fun.
Nice.
I was a big
Nice.
baseball guy,
Yep.
and my girl is 6. She's in kindergarten, and she's all into the gymnastics and the princesses and the dance, and so girly girl and true American boy, kind of background, but we love our time with our kids. We're big family people. Joe, you and I talked about this, and I think this can resonate with a lot of people. Is that in my old life, I mentioned we had 29 states, so the road time was becoming a thing, right? And I have a young family, and it's how why did I pick ideal of some of these other opportunities that I had, and
Mm-hmm.
it provided that we still have to work, right? We still got to provide, but it provided some more time in the evenings with the family that I really wouldn't get back otherwise. And you mentioned time is something we can't make more of,
No.
and so the ability to add value to the organization, bring my expertise to this place, and being able to eliminate some of the travel has just been a blessing. And it's family in our world and in our company that I'm with now. We're always faith first, family first, work next, right? So we always talk about we got to hit numbers, we got to do our things, but at the end of the day, if something bad happened with me, these guys here would, without question, hey, I had to go do this for this reasons, Brian. We don't even need to. You just take care of it, right?
Yeah.
So, working for groups like that is very attractive to me, and so I landed in a great spot, but I'm no hero special guy, just another guy trying to make it.
I
But
know.
but yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
It's funny that, you don't really realize how much you have in common with a large majority of the people until you actually get out there and start talking to them or visiting them. And like your travel, if you look at travel as a blessing, that's one of the things that you see is it doesn't really matter where you go. I mean, you could be in Paris, France, or Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, or Des Moines, Iowa, or Houston, Texas. And not everybody, but a lot of people are kind of doing the same things we are, just trying to be a good dad, trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good wife, trying to be a good mom,
That's
and
it.
raising their kids and doing the things to make sure that we're staying together and staying connected. Because the cliche is true. I know people tell you this because you got young kids, but I promise it's true. It
Right.
flies by.
It
It
flies.
just flies
Yeah.
by. And it's like, I got a 17-year-old daughter now, and I still look at her. I get to eat lunch with her every day. And it's
Oh, she's
such a,
driving.
huh?
She's driving.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah, she's driving, but my point is I get to eat lunch with her. And
Yeah,
that's the
that's
garbage time.
huge.
That's the
It's huge.
garbage time. That's not me. I missed a lot of things early on, but
Yeah.
I get the garbage time where she just talks to me about her friends, her boyfriend, school, the grind of life. And I'm like, oh my God, what a blessing. Thank
And
you,
Joe, I
God.
bet y'all's relationship has become 10x of the tight knit.
Beautiful. It's
Yeah,
just beautiful. I
100%.
love it. And we've always been close. And similar to that with my son, I've been taking him to school occasionally now. That garbage time of
Yeah,
just hearing how the grinds are wheeling in there or going inside their head, man. I
yeah,
wouldn't miss it for the world now. And I also am in a position to where I'm going to align myself with people that feel those same values. And that's exactly why you and I are vibing in connection.
Amen.
I guarantee it.
Amen, bro. Amen.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, Joe, that's so well said on your part. And, before I was a dad, I always thought, you just got to be there for the big ball game or this and that.
No.
Nope. It's the everyday
garbage time. Everyday garbage time that counts.
That is the most important piece. And
yeah.
So anyway, for all the moms and dads out there, we feel you.
We feel you. I definitely feel you. Well, Brian Kovar, appreciate you so much for coming on.
Joe,
man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. This is awesome.
Well, good. We'll do it again sometime for sure.
I love it. Joe, thanks for having me. Germinate Podcast. Go follow. This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, tell everybody about how to get in touch with Ideal and you and all that real quick as well before we end off.
I will. Yeah. So we've got LinkedIn page, Ideal Computer Systems, a website. Joe, maybe we can put my LinkedIn somewhere. Happy to connect. And doors always open for those who want to reach out. And we'll kind of take it from there, Joe. I look forward to continuing our business relationships together. And we'll see how 2025 shakes out for all of us.
Rock and roll. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome.
See ya.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
Bye.
See you, brother.
Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning into the Germinate podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others in the industry. And join me next time as we continue to explore the innovations and strategies shaping the future of agriculture and business. Until then, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep germinating your success.